Looking back a lot on Black Ops 3 after having completed the massive video project with my friend Henry, link in the description, the one map I keep finding myself dwelling on is Revelations. It's a map that somehow toes the line of being both original in its concept and unoriginal in its content. And as a Treyarch map, it's one of the absolute hardest to pin down in terms of quality or rankings for many. It almost feels like Noct in that way. It's not a bad map, but because of what it is, it's not great either. But I didn't want to retread things that Henry already said in that video. I instead wanted to do a sort of thought experiment. What should have been done differently to make Revelations more of the epic conclusion map it was supposed to be? And what mechanical or layout changes could have been made to fix it? The bottom line is that what Revelations tried to be isn't actually the problem. The concept of taking all the previous legacy maps and throwing them together into a nostalgic blender, sort of a everything in the kitchen sink type of deal, is not the issue. It's simply how it was executed. The fact is, despite all these older maps that have been remade in Black Ops 3's engine, it feels lazy because of how they brought them back. And they didn't seem to want to fully put forward the maximum amount of effort into this idea. Having the map be nothing more than a bunch of disjointed islands connected by teleporters with older maps mashed together isn't conductive of a good or interesting map flow. Sure, it's easy to get around once you have all the teleporters active, but it's not engaging to go through all these older locations. One of the reasons for that is because there really isn't any logical or progressive map flow with any of the combined locations. Having Noct as a hub area where the shield, jug, challenge podiums, and the entrance to pack is located is perfectly fine. It puts real value and importance on the original Zombies map, as it's literally the center of this one. But the rest of the islands are completely half-baked and have no relevant symmetry or symbolism. Each island is meant to represent the three games. There's the BO2 island with Mob and Origins, the World at War island with just Verrückt, which is odd as World at War is already represented with Noct as the hub area, and then you have the Black Ops 1 island, which is the most confusing as we have Shang, Kino, and Der Reisendrock for some reason. This simply never sat right with me. Having not only a map that doesn't belong with the others on its island, as well as a reused area from this game, and not even the launch map, but DLC 1. That wasn't even that long ago. They could have at least used Shadows of Evil here for some more visual variety. Just have the pack area, that way you'd still keep the wall running mechanics. DE simply doesn't belong on this map at all, and especially not where it's placed. But honestly, that's the big issue with this map as a whole. If you're going to have a map that's made up of a conglomerate of all the previous ones, why not go all out? Why not have a small section of every map ever all put together in one singular island? None of this disjointed teleporter system. Imagine a multi-leveled playing field map with levels that go lower or higher, made up of every area that we've ever played on in Zombies history. Sort of like a big bowl, like a concave looking flat earth design, with Noct in the lowest point, dead center. You could still have the jump pad system, but it would let you go to higher or lower levels as you progress through the map. Sort of a crawling your way out of the hole. You'd run outside Noct into the cornfield only to stumble onto the comms room from Shinonuma, to open a door and on the other side of it being the power room from Verrückt. When you go down into the courtyard and half of it is the war room from 5, only split down the middle, and you go up the stairs to the lander from Ascension. I could go on, but you get the point. Revelations had the opportunity to go all out with the Zombies past coming back, but instead of making its layout the most packed with as much locations that could have lended their unique elements to this one map, the whole thing feels half-baked. Imagine if each map location had a special wall buy from that map return on it. The opportunities here were so very high, but Rev completely dropped the ball here. Why is Rev so boring? Why is the map so easy? You have all these enemies, all these bosses return on this map, and yet it's a cakewalk. Why? What happened that made it so the challenge was just not there? Because when you look at it, this map has some of the most boss zombie types of any map, but nothing feels like a threat. You have the parasites, corrupted keepers, furies, spiders, panzers, and 3 types of margwas. But nothing feels like it matters because of what the player has at their disposal. The arsenal on this map just stacks everything so hard in your favor you almost can't lose. You have Little Arnie's, Rags, the Apothicon Servant, the Dragon Shield, and the Thunder Gun, and the masks. And none of these things are even remotely difficult to acquire. The extremely powerful Servant, which was on Shadows, rightly was round gated to around the mid-teens because of the 3 parts it took to build it. Now it's just in the box. And the absolute worst thing for the balancing is the fact that you can just hold both the Thunder Gun and the Servant on this map at the same time. What actually balanced the Servant was that it couldn't just melt the margwas. You had to be more creative than that. But with Revelations, you just use the Servant for the zombies and every other enemy type, and then pull out the Thunder Gun for the panzers and the margwas. It's an absolute joke. There should have absolutely been a limit to only 1 wonder weapon on this map per player. I know that sounds limiting, but it's important to balance these things. How busted would it be if you could hold 2 bows at a time, or 2 gauntlets at a time? With this, the solution to this problem is to actually have more wonder weapon variety. If there's more options that only 1 weapon can exist on the map at any point, then there should be more to facilitate 4 players. I don't mean 4 elemental wonder weapons like the staves, but 4 unique ones from the 4 zombie games at the time. Have the Waff, the Wave Gun, the Paralyzer, and the Servant. Note, all those wonder weapons are ones that don't kill bosses, only zombies. Because you already have the returning Dragon Shield, which can deal with the margwas and panzers easily. You don't need something like the Thunder Gun when you can get masks that make you do more damage to these bosses anyways. Plus, having the Dragon Shield be back after we just had it in the previous map and you can't even upgrade it here is just really underwhelming and tired. We're in the final battle against the Apothicons, right? Give us an Apothicon shield. Something original that you can't get anywhere else that makes us want to come back to Revelations. The issue with having a map of older assets is that you need to balance it with enough original ideas to make us want to play them all blended together like this. Because with Chronicles in the game, I can just play Origins, or Kino, or Verrückt in its entirety. So why would I bother with a map that has only half of it and no original wonder weapon or specialist? What makes a map really replayable is what makes it unique. You could have a bunch of facility maps that all look different, but if their mechanics all feel the same, then there's no reason to come back to them over anything else. Revelations' core map mechanics and gameplay loop is one of the lamest and dullest I've ever seen. It feels, design-wise, like a BO1 map, and not in a good way. The casuals or players just wanting to play the map and not do the Easter egg are left with a pack quest, which is essentially the standard end-all for map progression to the average game. The 4 islands have a single generator on each of them that requires you to spend a simple 500 points to activate, and what could barely be called as a swarm of enemies come at you to try and stop it. It's so absolutely basic, they may as well have just had a single power switch deep into the map like Zetsubo or something. You don't even have to kill these enemies that attack you. I mean, honestly, compare this to the mechanics of any other Blundell map. Origins, you had to turn on 6 generators that all had to be carefully stayed on because of zombies that spawned in close and constant if you killed them. Not to mention they would try to turn them off as the game went on. Both Mob and Shadows had you traveling all around the map using the unique player abilities to turn on localized generators and doing rituals for pack. And even Gorod, having a standard power switch, still had a unique system where you had to pick up special power-ups to call in parts you'd have to defend from attacking zombies. So many of these maps have so much depth to their power and pack-a-punch systems. Rev has neither, but combines them both into one. You get packed so quickly on this map, it's even faster than some classic zombie maps. It legitimately takes more effort to get pack open on Ascension than it does on Revelations. The depth of this map's mechanics is so shallow, but it didn't have to be. There could have absolutely been a mechanic where the corrupted keepers try and shut down the corruption engines to free the trapped Apothicon and temporarily shut off the teleporters, which would make sense because there's literally a challenge where you have to complete a corruption engine without getting any kills. And because the corruption engines can only be completed once, which you won't even know until after you complete the first corruption engine, so you only have 3 more tries to do it, otherwise the challenge is uncompletable. Which is a huge design flaw because unlike Origins, the corruption engines never get turned off. But if that's too annoying for you, why not have the initial wave of enemies actually be a challenge? Not the spawn one, of course, just having Furies there is fine. But give me some dogs, jumping jacks, meatballs, Margwas, something. The third corruption engine is just corrupted keepers, which are a complete joke. The process to turn on the power should be a steady one, and Pack-a-Punch a deliberate one. Something the player should put real effort into getting. But because they're one and the same, it feels like there's absolutely no progression at all. By the time you travel around the whole map once, you've already likely turned on the corruption engines, and Pack is done. The problem with Rev was that there was never too much. It was that there wasn't enough. Not enough depth, not enough challenge, and not enough effort. And even the Easter egg itself, it's nothing more than a bunch of menial tasks and fetch quest stuff, with no real substantial steps at all. Did you know this map has a side quest where you can have all the wall and box guns permanently packed, on top of getting to use Takio's sword? But you have to do more than half of the Easter egg to do it, and by that time, you're already fully set up for the boss fight anyways. Something like having everything packed permanently, or getting a mask that makes you take multiple extra hits from all the enemies, or letting you swap weapons with any one of your teammates, are fantastic side quests. But they're just so absolutely wasted on a map as easy and underwhelming as Revelations. So tell me, what do you think should be changed about Revelations to make it better? I'd like to know because this is a map I don't hate, I just wish it was done better because its concept could have worked if done with the proper level of effort.